Here we are in Camp Gold, right near tent cabins 30, 30D, and 30C. This stump was a sugar pine that died in 2016, and it was felled in March of 2017. This is probably the biggest tree that was in the lair, as far as I can tell at least. It was 84 inches in diameter at 4.5 feet above the ground uphill side. So about 7 feet in diameter, roughly 400 and some odd years old. I haven't counted the rings. I'll rely on one of you to do that. But many of you wonder, how did trees get felled? And that's why I stopped at this stump here, not only because it's the biggest in camp and it's the most impressive thing, but I did want to give you a quick tutorial on how trees are felled. And I'll make this as fast as I can, but there's a guy called a logger that has a chainsaw, and that chainsaw is pretty big and long. Probably in this instance, probably a 5-foot bar, maybe a 6-foot bar on the chainsaw, and probably the biggest, most horsepower of the saw you can get. What the timber faller will do is, first thing he's got to do is decide where to put it. So if my director would be so kind as to pan the camera around, you'll notice that there is a number of things that you don't want to hit when you're falling a tree. One is the bathrooms. The other is the PG&E power line. The third are the tent cabins, and there's probably a propane tank somewhere nearby. So those are the things he's got to dodge. Well, in this instance, where's the timber faller going to put that? There is no place to put it except downhill at the North Fork of the Tuolumne, the creek. So that's what they did. Timber faller will come in with his saw. He's figuring out where he wants to put it. He'll come in and start sawing what is the undercut. This is the hole underneath the tree that, when the piece of wood is taken out, gives the tree a weak spot that it's going to fall towards. This is my trusty Labradoodle helping me today. Her name is Boo. She's 12. So the timber faller will come in and cut the wedge out from underneath. He'll probably work both sides of the tree. Eventually that wedge will be pulled out and pushed off to the side, and there'll be a gap, a pie-shaped gap underneath the rest of the stem. This is called the holding wood in this area, and behind it, the timber faller will check to be sure that this point and that point, the hinges are perpendicular to where the tree is going to go. So he's checking to be sure that. He'll finish that off. Then he'll come up from behind and start working on what's called the back cut. He'll put the saw on the back, run it for a little ways, turn the saw off, and drive in 2 plastic wedges, one here and one here. That lifts the tree enough so that the saw doesn't get bound if the tree sits down on the saw. So it's to create a gap and to control the tree from falling the wrong direction. He'll restart the saw, keep working through it, stop the saw, come back, pound on those wedges, probably add another 2 or 3 to lift the tree even further. Come back around, start the saw, and move all the way to about here. Then he'll stop. Say a good long prayer. And then what he'll do is check that his wedges are in, move back, and start pounding on them. Pounding on them until that tree is lifting up. He'll start the saw again until he gets right about here, leaving about 6 inches or so, yay much, of what's called holding wood. The holding wood is critical. It holds the tree on the stump and doesn't let it just catapult and go. The second thing it does, it controls the direction of the fall. So when he stops that saw, he's going to be sure that holding wood is perpendicular to where it's going. He'll then run the saw a little bit longer, pull it out for good, and pound on the wedges in the back to be sure it goes where it goes. The tree will start lifting up and moving. He'll run away smartly or walk away, and the tree will go ahead and start falling. Momentum takes care of the rest. That holding wood will slow it down and direct it the right way. Finally, it'll pop off the stump. In this instance, the butt log landed about 15 feet down the hill, right in here. The reason for that is because as it popped, all that weight in the top of the tree, which is about a 60-foot diameter crown because of the limb size, all that weight literally pulls it off the stump and throws the tree quite a ways. The top landed across the river on the other side where that burn pile is, and the segments broke into log lengths where they bucked it. One final thing about following this, coming back to here, you're probably wondering what this step is in the stump. So I know the timber faller, his name's Frank Scott. He lives down here in Miwok, runs Scott Logging. They cut a hole out of here and put a house jack. House jacks, for all you folks, are those great big jacks that they use to pump up houses and redo foundations underneath them. They used a house jack here to be sure that the tree did not go that way and blow the bathrooms out. So they used that house jack. They were leveling, pumping on that house jack, pounding on the wedges, lifting it and directing it slightly this way to keep it from going that way, because that would be a terrible bad problem. So when the tree did fall, they shot a video of it, and at the very end of the video, there's a very loud clang. And what was that clang? I had to call Frank and find out. The house jack was so pressurized by the log as it fell that it shot out from the gap and hit a tractor and made a loud clang. The video, by the way, of this tree being felled, Kathy Connolly, sorry Kathy, posted on the Lair website, I believe in 2017, possibly 2018, and perhaps we can rummage that up and you can all see the video of this actually being felled. Thanks.